so quite a few. So if you want to read them out, do it.
So we've got apologies from Mayor Brown, Deputy Mayor Hulse, Councillor Fletcher, Councillor Lee, and Councillor Stewart for absent on council business, Councillor Cooper, Councillor Crum, and Member McDonald for absence, Member Taipri as an alternate for lateness, and Councillor Penrose for early departure.
Okay, so I'll move that those apologies be received, seconded by Councillor Clow. Put that motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. Declaration of interest. There are no declarations of interest being received. Does anyone have any declarations? No. Confirmation of minutes. I'll move that the minutes of the Regional Strategy and Policy Committee held on Thursday the 7th of April this year be confirmed as a true and correct record, seconded by Councillor Penrose. I will put that motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. Next item is petitions. There are no petitions. No public input. We did have one request for public input, but that matter has been put off until next month. Local board input. There's no local board input. We have no extraordinary items of business and no notices of motion. So we now move to item number 9, and we hope to get this item finished by 10:10, past 10, when we will adjourn for the event, the CRL sod turning event at the bottom of town, bottom of Queen Street, which starts at 10:30, goes through to 11:30. And then we will come back to the town hall. Councillors ask you to come back and have lunch at 11:45, and we should be able to resume about 12:15 for the remainder of the.
Could have it all finished, Mr. Chair.
Well, we may. Okay, we'll see if we go. Okay.
Brilliant cheering on your part.
So, this is the first item. That you can see that there's a willingness around the table here, maybe to move some of these items through reasonably quickly. And this item bids has been the subject of 2 workshops. That's right. Where the first workshop was a number of issues raised. The officers went away, worked on those issues. Now they've come back, and they came back at the second workshop. And I think the matters that had been matters of concern raised at that second workshop were actioned. And I think now that the document, one of the concerns was, and Councillor Cooper was concerned about it, led that aspect, was the thickness of the document, number of pages, and you can see, councillors, it has now been considerably truncated, so we have a far more slimmed up version. And Ms. Alistair will be, can you give us any introduction, and we'll move into moving the motions. Thank you.
Look, in the interest of time, just a very quick introduction. Just remind the committee that the budget committee back in the LTP process approved a new operating model for the bids program, which is just a fancy way of saying how the council staff will support the bid program and implement the policy, and also asked the bids team to go away and review the policy. Like you said, Chair, there's been considerable information gathering and workshops done with not only councillors but the local boards involved, and also the business associations that are part of the bid program. A number of concerns have been taken on board, and the policy, as you pointed out, is now a very much slimmed down version, operating more at a principles level than more the detailed operational document that it was previously. The main features of the policy is clarifying the roles of the different parties within the program, whether it's the governing body, which role is being exercised today in approving the policy, the boards and the business associations themselves. One substantive change that has been made to the policy is that a threshold of the amount of a targeted rate to be set when establishing a new bid has been raised from $50,000 to $120,000. The rationale for that is one of the key success indicators for a bid is it actually has sufficient scale to do something meaningful. there is scope within the policy to consider a lesser targeted rate on a case-by-case basis, but it's staff advice that 120,000 is an appropriate level to set it at. Other than that, the policy just largely clarifies what was happening in practice and puts the onus on the business associations involved to proactively provide us with some information, whereas perhaps the last policy it was more incumbent on council staff to chase that. I think that's probably a very high-level summary.
All right, I think Councillor Webster, you've got a question?
Yes, I do, Mr Chairman. Thank you very much, Alistair and the team for this. This is a lot better than it was before, not slimmer. My concern is probably just in the wording of the ward councillor. It says no allocated role, and I'd like that taken out. The problem, as we well know, is that if something goes wrong, it's the ward councillor that they come to, and that's when the ward councillor gets blamed by the local board. So I think, whereas I know that it is local board, but I think I'd just like those words, no allocated role, however, got taken out, so that it says ward councillors may have a relationship and may be involved.
Okay, is that any problem with that? No? You can put that out, change that, made that, okay. Councillor Walker?
Yeah, I just want to support Councillor Webster's comment, and also make the observation that in the instance of some bids, particularly where bids enlarge, they can actually go beyond one local board. Sometimes they could involve a number of local boards, and that may well be the way that we're heading. In the sense that you have an overall bid, and then within that you may almost have subgroups operating, because that may be more efficient from an administrative perspective. I'd also make the further observation that obviously there are a number of councillors that take a keen interest in the economic development of Auckland, and there is a strong relationship between AT, that we obviously have a close relationship with, and the bids. So I don't see any way that councillors should be taken out of the picture. We've got an abiding interest.
Thank you. With that, Councillor Filipina.
Thank you, Chair. Just in regards to 28 and under the local board views and implications, there's a mention on 28 that throughout the revision policy, several boards have expressed concern about the level of operational support within council for the bid program. When will the implementation or the monitoring, whether there's sufficient or not, come back to council as per the end of that particular paragraph?
I've no set date in mind. The new operating model is intended to be in effect from 1 July. As the manager responsible for that, I'll just be continually monitoring resources, and if it becomes apparent that there's insufficient resources, then I'll come back and talk to you and ask for more money very politely.
Thank you. With that, I'll move the recommendation.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Clow.
Oh, can I answer?
I just wonder... Sorry? Sorry, you got a question?
Yeah, just one. Can you please give me some assurance regarding these bids that they're not used in a way that's contrary to the, when you're applying these bids, they're used contrary to the Maori responsiveness framework?
I guess the focus of the policy is to encourage an annual meeting between the business associations involved and the relevant local boards to try to agree what the work programs and the strategic direction of the business association will be that receives funding in the bids program. It will be incumbent, I guess, on the local board in that instance, supported by council staff, to provide advice to the business associations that what they're doing is actually contrary to council policies. I guess what we've always got to bear in mind is that these are independent organisations outside of Auckland Council's governance. So how they use their funds is largely determined by them, although it cannot be used for activities that council was already undertaking. Steve or Jill, would you like to add anything to that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, only that there's also going to be potentially a role within the team about working with partners, and I can imagine that that role would certainly have a relationship between ourselves and other parts of council that are involved with Māori economic development to try and to work on projects together.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. It's been moved, seconded. I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. And we will now move to item 10. Some of these items, the officers may not be here, but I don't actually believe that that we need, Mr. Kimpton is over these things very well. And this is the next item is a submission in relation, our submission in relation into the issue of Healthy Homes Guarantee Bill number 2. Now, there's just been a bill passed, a similar ilk to this, and this is a follow-up bill. So, Mr. Kimpton, have you got anything further you wish to say?
I just recommend that you take the report as read. If you've got any questions on it, then I trust I'll be able to provide a useful answer to it, but otherwise we're seeking approval to make a submission on behalf of council.
You're happy to move it, Mr. Chair?
It's seconded by Councillor Cashmore. It's a short bill. It follows up on the previous government bill.
Yep.
And I think it's a very warranted thing, especially in the Auckland area where we do have a problem. So there's no discussion. I'll put that motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. So now we move to item 11, Safer Communities Accreditation Update. And is Brian here for that? Okay. He was at, yep. So this, yeah, you can just give us some background, Brian. Sorry?
I'd like to move it, George.
Okay, you want to move it?
Happy to second, Mr. Chair.
Second, moved by Brian. Moved by Kathy. Brian would probably like to move it, but he can't do it. Seconded by Councillor Walker. So, Brian, is there any matters you wish to raise? The former Waitakere and North Shore councils did have accreditation. So, and I think one of the issues, Brian, is what it's going to cost, and if you can just give us some background there, that would be helpful.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. I'm glad I turned up to watch the initial proceedings. Through you, Mr. Chair, the accreditation fee will come out of the existing budgets, and the staff resource will also come out of the existing budgets. And this work doesn't create any new activity. It's about consolidating what we're already doing across the safety approach and bringing us into line with the World Health Organization's approach to community safety. There's a $2,000 application fee, and just really quickly to touch on that, the Ministry of Health fund our injury prevention program in council, and this is the direction that they've asked us to head with the injury prevention program, so it's coming out of that program of work.
Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
This probably isn't part of this, but I think it's something that we really need to look into. You would have seen Local Government New Zealand recently concerned about police presence in various areas of New Zealand. Particularly in the Waitemata area, we now have a situation where police stations that have been manned by volunteers, and maybe Councillor Filipina would be able to confirm this, now have to be closed if there's not a uniformed policeman there. So in some of our smaller, more remote areas of Auckland, i.e. Snells Beach and places like that, we now have a situation where if the police presence isn't there, the volunteers aren't able to keep the station open. So, I mean, it all goes with safer communities, really. I'm not asking for an answer now, Mr. Chairman, but I just wonder if the officer could look into that for me.
Okay.
It may not be your area, but just think if we're talking safer communities, all these things come into it.
I think there was, I think it was kind of wrapped around health and safety, wasn't it? The new health and safety.
It was because of an incident that happened in South Auckland, but the problem is, and I know that councillor Penrose has talked to the minister about it, but I'm sort of bringing it to the attention of this committee, that there is an issue, and I'd like some sort of report back to us about it.